And then we started a series just last weekend, all in the book of James. And we're going to be in James for quite a few weeks. And this is an amazing time to jump in. If you're maybe just jumping into interacting with the Bible, and you're like, man, I've never really looked hard at one book of the Bible. I don't really know how to use it. Or maybe it's been a while since you've done that. This is a great place to be. And in fact, I would just say this. If you are here and you don't have a physical copy of the Bible and you want one, love to have you grab one from underneath the chairs there. You can use that today. And then if you want to take that with you, you can. That can be our gift to you. We'd love for you to have a copy of God's Word. And what we're really doing here in the book of James, James is the brother of Jesus, and he is very, very clear and open about what it means to have kind of faith in action. What does real, genuine faith look like? And we're going to talk about that specifically today and kind of dive into that conversation. But he's kind of a hard-hitting, very blunt and honest guy, and he walks through what does it mean and what's our life going to look like if we say yes to Jesus. And so we're going to walk through a series of conversations on that. And today specifically, we want to look at that faith question. If I say yes to Jesus, what does that mean? And what does it mean to be a genuine person of faith? I think the vast majority of us, even in our culture, would say we are people of faith, or we're spiritual, or something down that road. And what we want to do is kind of look at that general, casual admittance that I'm a person of faith, or I believe, or I'm spiritual. And we want to kind of look at what does the Bible actually say about being a person of faith? Like, what does that mean? And how will that affect me if I lock into faith the way that the Bible talks about it? And so that's where we're going today. Excited about it. We're going to be in James chapter 2. And if you have a Bible, turn open to James 2, or you can do that, of course, on your smartphone if you have an app. YouVersion app is very, very helpful if you don't have that one. So here's where James is. We're going to jump in. James 2, starting in verse 14. Here's what he says. He says, what good is it, my brothers and sisters, if somebody claims to have faith but has no deeds? He says, can such faith save them? Suppose a brother or sister is without clothes and daily food. If one of you says to them, go in peace, keep warm and well fed, but does nothing to meet their physical needs, what good is it? He says, in the same way, faith by itself, if not accompanied by action, is dead. Right? So he kind of throws down the gauntlet a little bit and really starts to question this general claim of like, man, I'm a person of faith. Yeah, I'm good for that. And that's kind of, that same claim would show up in our culture. It'd be very familiar for us today. You know, we would say we have, most of us, I think, would say we have some version of faith, right? Do you believe in God? Sure. Yeah, I believe in God. Yeah, I'm in on that. Do you believe in Jesus? Sure, yeah, I believe in Jesus. I believe in this and that. Do you believe Jesus died for the sins of the world? Sure, why not? I'll take that one too. And there's a little bit of a, I'll casually kind of check off the boxes that say, do I actually believe this? And sure, I'll click those off a little bit like the terms and conditions. You guys ever scan through those? There's a lot of those lately, right? You go through terms and conditions. Have you read this? Right? That those of you who care about telling the truth are conflicted by these things. The rest of us are just like, check, right? I'm done. I agree. Yeah, move on to the next thing. There's a little bit of that where it's like, do you believe these things? Sure, I'm in. I'm in for that. God, Jesus, whatever, right? I grew up in America. I'm a Christian. Whenever I fill out the census thing, I'm always check Christian, right? I'm that. That version of faith is going to be different than the version of faith that James is going to talk about here. He's going to say, is that kind of faith the faith that can save you, right? It's kind of the question at hand, and made me think about this because, right, he's really pressing in saying, is there skin in the game? I was thinking about this when I was in high school. I was part of this group, this leadership development group, and they took us on these retreats. And one of them, I think, was at Camp Waianoa, or one of these camps that are around here. And there's other groups there, and there's a group ahead of us, and they were doing these trust falls. You guys, who's ever done a trust fall before? Okay, so you guys have done this before. Well, this one, I was out in the woods. and we're watching this group do this, and our facilitator was like, hey, you guys think that if we were doing trust falls that you guys would catch each other? And we were all like kind of new. We're all like, yeah, we'd catch each other, right? We all kind of just said yes. Sure, we would do that. 15 minutes or so later, right, we didn't know we were the next in line to go up to the trust fall. And now we're the ones there. And you kind of walk up these steps onto this table or bench, right? And then there's like this, right, sheer drop off. And then like 8 people stand right here, and their forearms are supposed to give you comfort that they're going to catch you, right? And here's what I remember, that this was the illustration they were trying to drive at us. They were trying to help us feel the reality of commitment. And I remember thinking, because they really helped us see it, the commitment on the ground felt very, very, very different than when my heels were at the edge of the table, and now I have these strangers back here that are going to catch me, or I'm going to get the wind knocked out of me, right? And I'm like, this just got real. This just got real at a different level, right? Because what you do, of course, you do this, or you like go full back swan dive, and then you just lay out, and everybody catches you. That kind of commitment, do you believe that these people will catch you, is a different question on the table than it is on the ground. And this is what James is saying. He's saying, can the on-the-ground answer save you? Is that faith? I'm in. I'm a Christian. I go to church sometimes. I do stuff. I believe. And he would say, wait a minute. I'm not sure that's what we're talking about. And he continues to kind of drive the point forward. He says there's a different version of faith, and he would say that this faith is going to be accompanied by action. My claim actually has to kind of show up and get on the table for this to be, because here's the thing. When I claim I believe in Jesus, what happens is I'm going to continue to live life. And Jesus said stuff about living life. He said stuff about finances, and he said stuff about sex, and he said stuff about what I chase in life and what I prioritize. And when I run into decisions, what happens is I'm deciding, do I believe what Jesus said or not? Do I get on the table and take the swan dive or not? Is my faith put into action, or is it really just kind of a lip service? I acknowledge it from afar. I casually say yes to it. I think that it means something that it doesn't. And these two things start to look very, very, very different. The problem we have in our culture, and I think James was facing something similar, is at face value, they sound the same. I am a Christian, and this is a Christian, and this is a Christian. And James is like, wait a minute, I don't even know where this came from. We kind of made this up. Follow it with me. He keeps going. He says, but someone will say, you have faith, I have deeds. Show me your faith without deeds, and I'll show you my faith by my deeds. He's going to drive into the need for action and say, really, our actions end up showing what I really believe. And here's the thing that's actually very hard to stomach. I was very challenged by this week, is at the end of the day, whatever I do is what I actually believe. That's the reality. Whatever I do is what I actually believe. And so as I lean into action more and more, right, it's the expression of my faith. They're like one thing, one connected thing. They were never meant to be separated. James is going to drive at this a little bit, right? And he's going to help us see that these things should be connected. Here's what he says next. He says, you believe that there's one God. Good. He says, even the demons believe that and shudder. Wow. Right? That's heavy hitting. He said, you believe there's one God? You believe in God? Good job, man. Like you're on the same level as like the demonic realm. Congratulations. Right? Some of you are like, we're talking about demons. I'm freaked out. Okay? You're going to be okay. The Bible assumes that there's a supernatural world that exists. And he says, even those who are opposed to God would look and recognize, yeah, God exists. I believe that. I even recognize that God has a lot of power. Here's the difference, right? The demon looks and says, here's the key word. I don't trust God with me, with my direction and how I live and how I function and what I'm about. I believe God exists. I believe he's powerful, but here's your word, I don't follow him. I follow something else. And James is going to drive this and say, yeah, demons do this. They give lip service to the fact that God exists. They aren't followers of Jesus. And this is really going to be the difference. This kind of acknowledgement of faith is not the same as a decision to follow Christ, to put my trust in him, to put my life in his hands. These are very, very different things. Now, it's worth taking a minute and pressing into some things. I want to see the other side of it, because there is a side where action on its own can look a little bit like a version of this. Here's what I mean. There's also a side of it where I can look at action or deeds, and I can approach God from this is the stuff that I did category. Here's how this one will look. And this is probably going to make some sense. I don't know where this came from, but in our minds, sometimes what happens is there's a bit of a scale. And it goes something like this. Hey, I did some bad stuff, right? And I know that. All of us know that, by the way, right? You do bad stuff and you feel bad about it, and you know that we all have that. That guilt of like, man, does everybody do the kind of stuff, like, is everybody messed up like me? Everybody thinks about that, just so you know. Right? We don't talk about it that much. It kind of freaks us out, but we all feel the guilt and sometimes the shame of doing things that are wrong or doing things we're not proud of. When we do that, what can happen in the scale is what we can do is then we go, well, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to be a good person. I'm going to be a good person. Right? So now I'm going to do some good stuff, and I'm going to try to get this stuff to equal out. And as long as I can be like 1 iota higher, 1 millimeter higher than the bad that I've done, God's going to look at that and feel like, it's kind of okay. We don't say this out loud, but this is a little bit how we function. I'm a good person. Now here, watch how it all connects. What will happen is I'll check the box. Yeah, I believe in God, whatever, right, whatever. I'm in. And then I really believe this scale. And then we'll connect these two together, and it creates this foreign kind of religion that God's like, I don't even know what this is. I didn't make this up. You guys kind of did. And it looks like this. I can retain control of my life. I'm still kind of the Lord of my life. I define and direct what I do as long as I can tab this thing up a little bit and make sure I'm a good enough person, then I can still kind of do the stuff that I don't want to have to change. I'm in charge of me. Do you believe in God? Sure, I'm in. I'm a good person. God looks at me and he thinks he's great. Okay. What I want us to recognize is James is not saying this. What James is saying is this. What I'm doing when I say yes to Jesus is I'm choosing to follow him. I am relinquishing the control of my life over to him. This is why when somebody who's an adult like me, who says yes to Jesus, right? So I said yes to Jesus in college. And when I was introduced to the gospel, I was like, this is crazy. What are you asking me to do? Give up the total control? You want me to give the direction of my life? They're like, yeah, man, but the person you're giving up the direction of your life with, he paid for your life with his. He laid down his life and paid for your sin. He consciously made a decision to take on your sin and pay for it on the cross. And what he's doing is he's transferring his righteousness and his perfection to your account. He takes the guilt, you take the righteousness. Can you trust somebody that's like that? Right? In so many words, right, that we didn't quite come out exactly, but in so many words, that was the presentation. I'm like, wow, if that's who he really is, if that's what God is really like, then I can trust him and I can say yes to his invitation to follow him. Because here's the thing, where I was at the time is what I would recognize that what I was looking for is somebody to trust. I had trusted myself and I got me through a whole bunch of stuff. But the problem with it was it ran into all the dead ends. When I was looking for a sustaining purpose or peace or actually a forgiveness for the things that I did wrong because I was doing, I'm in shame and need help. Where do I go to find this? And the only place I could find it, it all clicked when my friend looked at me and said, what you're looking for is Jesus. You're looking for a voice to believe in and lock into and build your life on, to somebody to trust. When you hear the call and hear them define life, you're like, I'm in on that. I'm like, yes. We all follow somebody. When I heard the call to follow Jesus, I was like, this is the one. But what that felt like is it felt like standing on that table. It felt terrifying. How do I know it's going to hold? What if I run into something that doesn't make sense? God, you want me to trust you with my sex life? With my money? I'm going to do those areas of my life however you say? I'm going to follow you? See, Jesus, as the Lord and teacher, the call is to come under his leadership. And the idea is, if I can trust him with my soul, that he can forgive my sin and my eternity can be set, then I can also trust him with my life. And if I'm going to trust him with my life, that's going to show up in real action that is going to cause me to make a different set of decisions than if I'm just chilling out here, trying to stay in control of my own life. This is a game-changingly different decision. This will leave me altered. This will leave me new. This is still the old me, kind of duct taping some stuff together, trying to run my own way. Guys, I think we all do versions of both of these, and what James is driving at is it has to show up in a real action, a real life change, a real faith, a genuine one. Here's what he says. Here's the illustration. He says, you foolish person. Thank you, James. You foolish person, do you want evidence that faith without deeds is useless? He said, was not our father Abraham considered righteous for what he did when he offered his son Isaac on the altar? He said, you see that his faith and his actions were working together, and his faith was made complete by what he did. Here's the idea. Abraham, early in the Bible, was asked to offer his son back to God, to offer his life, to offer him as a sacrifice. And when he heard that call, the gauntlet was thrown down, and he had to say, yes, God, I believe it, from the ground. And then he had to follow through it and actually do something with it. His faith showed up through what he actually did with it. Do I actually trust God in the midst of it? And this is what James is driving at. He's saying, see, he believed because he acted as if that was true. He trusted the voice of God. It's massive. The scripture is fulfilled that says Abraham believed God and it was credited to him as righteousness. and he was called God's friend. You see that a person is considered righteous by what they do and not by faith alone. And here's what James is saying in this passage. He's not saying that faith alone, because other parts of the Bible say that we're saved by faith alone. Here's the idea, is when they say that, what they mean is this version: a faith that follows, a faith that is real trust in God. Now, when we look at this picture, here's what I faced this week, is I realized that as color is kind of added, as action is added, as I take what God is saying and I put it into trust in my life, that there's going to be some holes where I haven't yet believed God yet for this piece. And I have to learn, how do I let God define and control this part of my life? How do I let him fill in all the rest? But the big decision, the first decision, the decision to follow Jesus, is that I want that journey to be the journey that I'm on. Learning how to trust Jesus and have faith in all the areas of my life, because I believe that he loves me and he is for me, and he laid down his life to make me new, to save me. It's huge. This version right here, guys, hear me. This is out of love. This is not following Jesus. If you're here today and you're like, I'm good. I know I check a box and I say a thing and I'm a pretty good person. I want you to know that you should not feel secure in where you stand today. I'm saying this out of love. You are in a place where you can make a decision to say, I want to land here. And where I receive the forgiveness of my sin through Christ. And that opens the door for now, like Jess said, for new life, where I can begin to learn what does it mean to live. But the intention is always to have it show up in action. It's not me managing the scales, casually checking off the terms and conditions, staying in control of my life. It's that massive, sometimes terrifying act to relinquish control and to put my heels on the edge of the table. To lean back and know I'm following Jesus. There's almost a sense of terror to that. It's how I felt when I said yes to Jesus. Absolutely terrified. I knew that this was going to change my life. And it absolutely did. Jesus is looking to us today, and he's calling us into this kind of faith. Right? He would look and say, as the body without the spirit is dead, so faith without deeds is dead. This thing's dead. This is a different thing that we're talking about. It's a faith that follows and a faith that alters. It's not about being perfect. It's not about working my way to heaven. None of that's real or true. Jesus alone pays the way. Here's the last passage that I want to talk about where we go from here. Listen to what James says earlier in 1:22 through 25. He says, do not merely listen to the word and so deceive yourselves. He says, do what it says. Do what it says. Anyone who listens to the word but does not do what it says is like someone who looks at his face in a mirror. And after looking at himself, goes away and immediately forgets what he looks like. Right? The reason we look in a mirror is to check, right? It's to make sure nothing's off, nothing's out of place, everything's right. When we look at ourselves in a mirror, it's to confirm that things are on the right track or to change. He says, when we look, and you go and you do something different, that's the person who hears and doesn't do. He says this, but whoever looks intently into the perfect law that gives freedom and continues in it, not forgetting what they've heard, but doing it, they will be blessed in what they do. Here's the thing. So Ryan, what do we do with this? There's a group of us that know Jesus that are here. And if you're like me, right, in this stage of life, you probably have pockets where on the ground you'd say, yeah, I believe. But you're learning how to fill it in with faith and actually show up on the table. God, I believe you can provide for me and take care of me. But can I trust you with my finances? That's a different thing. You are my provider. I'll listen to you and I'll do money the way that you do. There's probably big pockets or small pockets where you're going to look and say, I have yet to get up on the table and believe God in that piece. But where you sit today is you're in this circle. You would look and say, but I'm in. I want Jesus to have control of my life. I want to follow him. I've received the forgiveness of my sins. If that's where you are, like me, let that change you and alter you. If you want joy and a sense of exhilaration and to experience the joy of the Lord, get back on the table again. If it's been a while, get back on the table again. If you're looking for, man, where's, I feel a little bored, a little stuck, get on the table. Do something scary. Share your faith. Give some money away. Invest yourself into the things of the kingdom and trust him like you're launching off, reverse swan dive off that table. See it come alive again. Fire it up. Okay, some of us are here and you're investigating your faith. And you're looking at these pictures and you're like, wow, did some of that. That makes sense. I think we all kind of do. If you don't come to the church, or even if you do a version of this. Right? I heard my friend who got baptized last week, and he said, Ryan, we were talking about this. You were talking about playing church. That's what I was doing. I was playing church. You believe in God? Yeah. I'm kind of a good person. I'm playing with the scales. I'm doing some stuff. I'm a good person. So now what we're talking about. It's this decision to say, I believe I have to relinquish this and let you have this. I'm in. It starts by letting Jesus forgive me of my sin. And then from there on, it's a posture of following. Whatever you say goes, Lord. I'm in. You say it, I believe it. I trust you. I'm choosing not to trust me. This is the scariest thing I've ever done. I'm so scared. I was so scared to relinquish this because how I got through life was trusting Ryan. Now I'm going to trust Jesus. How am I going to do this? This is the decision for some of us. Listen, if you want to make that call, you can make that decision today. You can make that decision today. It's simple. It's not easy. It's terrifying. It's as simple as getting on the table and falling backwards. Simple, not easy. The question is, are you in? Are you in? Do you want forgiven today? And do you want to let go? Are you sick of yourself yet, is the question. Do you need to relinquish the control of your life and say, Jesus, I want you to lead me and direct me. You're my teacher. You're my Lord. You're my God. I follow you. I'm in. If that's the decision, you can make that call today. Nothing will change you or alter you as deeply as that one terrifying decision that fosters and creates a new life in an instant. You just have to know as you make that decision that you're going to have to put it into action. It's not this. It's this. Guys, and for some of us here, maybe you're a follower of Jesus, maybe you're not. Maybe you're a follower of Jesus and you've never looked and said, I haven't actually owned this circle. I never have gone public with my faith. I've never looked around and said, hey, I'm in. I'm doing this. It's been quiet or private, and there's been a hesitancy to go all in here. If you are a person who's there, or if you're a person who's saying, I'm leaving all this behind and I'm ready to take a big step of faith, I'm following Jesus today, you can make the decision right here, right now, to accept Jesus. And then if you want to, you can say, I want to get baptized today. I'm in. We'll walk you up here and baptize you right here. There's water right here. If you would look and say, I'm deciding here and now to follow Jesus, and I don't care who knows, I'm in. I'm declaring it before the world. I don't care if my boss knows. I don't care if my mom knows. I don't care if my girlfriend or my boyfriend. I don't care. Shameless. A shameless proclamation of who you follow and what you're about. If that's where you are, then we'd love to join you in that. You can walk up here during the first song, which we're going to play in a minute, and talk to me, and we'll take a minute, and we'll get you up here, and we'll baptize you right here and right now. Well, Ryan, I'd be wet then. That'd be scary. People would see me. My mascara would run. Just got real. Guys, and listen, you don't have to do it. You don't have to do this now. It's your call. What do you want to do? That's the question. Are you doing it, and do you want to do it? We'll join you in this part. You can do it some other time. I don't care. The point is this. And if I'm going to follow Jesus, it has to show up somewhere. I got to choose. Am I going to permanently abandon this thing right here? I'm done with this. I'm done with this. I'm done with that. This is what I'm doing. Are you in on the beautiful and wonderful and gracious invitation that we don't deserve but we receive to follow the one who died for us? That's a heart decision first and most. That is the decision that saves. Baptism simply me saying that on the outside, what has happened on the inside. Baptism doesn't save me. It's just following through with what I believe most deeply in my heart. So guys, I'm going to have the band come up, and I'm going to pray. And if you want to take that step, or maybe it's another step other than baptism, I'll be right in this front row right here. We got towels. Come on up. We'll have a conversation. If you want to get baptized, you can do that. Guys, if not, do what you need to do to make that faith real and active, genuine in your heart and life today. Would you pray with me? Lord, we are blown away. The lengths that you would go to, Lord, to rescue us from ourselves. Lord, to save us. And to make us new, Lord, from the inside out. Not just being propped up as good people, God, but being altered at the deepest levels. God, I pray that you would help me to believe you, Lord. And you know what that wrestle's like in my life. Help each of us, God, to have courage to move with abandon and with action, with real, genuine faith, a faith that intends to put it into practice. God, for those who are considering accepting you today or who have made that decision already, God, I pray that you would give enormous courage for people to be willing to stand with you, Lord, as you have been willing to stand with us. Would you meet us here, Lord, even now?